So yeah, it's a quite a complex period of time for the Western world, but I think if we support each other and really make an effort from all industries, I think we can get through it. It's interesting. I've set up a health and wellbeing program for Dennis Family Corporation, who I work for, and it's basically we have like a couple of nutritionists, psychologists, a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, and we're just offering people the opportunity just to get moving whilst being in their house. So like for 15 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening, they can participate in a personal training class online, live, or they can participate in a yoga class live, just to get everyone moving at the moment.
We better dial into your program. Sounds pretty good.
I'm sure. Are you into yoga?
We do a yoga class. We have yoga. I think once a week, every couple of weeks. We have it in the office. Normally, it's obviously been cancelled now.
Yeah.
But there's been all sorts of antics. Our staff have, not perhaps as organised as your health and wellbeing program you got, which is very commendable. But they're just a lot of antics. They're all just doing things and connecting with each other and showing what they're doing at home and keeping all each other amused and supporting each other, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. My only reason for doing it is I just think you just got to look after each other. You got to look after your organisation and your community. And I think you were mentioning before, people of our generation have always had the opportunity to have everything that we want. So when something gets taken away from us, we're probably the ones that are going to struggle the most in regards to coping. So yeah. I just thought, like, what other way to provide support is to create a program where people can join in. So
just I'll get back to how we started the company, but what I was in a government meeting the other day with all the other top 10 developers, of which your organisation was part of the call with the treasurer and planning minister, to say what we can do to try and help with this industry. I was saying to the group that during the 40s and 50s, to do a subdivision, all you do is drew the plan and you start selling the blocks and settle on them. You went and built everything afterwards, because that was the way it was done back in the really early days.
Yeah.
And when my parents bought a block in the mid-70s, they bought the block of land for a smaller price, but then paid back the council for their half-cost road over a number of years. So, I think Bert Dennis has said this many times about people want the whole thing gold plate at the start, but back in the early days it was much more affordable because you bought the base product being the land.
Yes.
And the road came then, but the council built it, and you paid the council back over a number of years, which made it much, much cheaper than borrowing the whole box and dice at the start. And nowadays, obviously, everything's going to be completely finished. And I'm just saying, under this new regime of the coronavirus, I think we need to get to the stage where any tier one or respected developers are able to actually get a statement of compliance much earlier, when things perhaps mightn't be quite finished because you can't get enough pit leads from China, or you can't get copper cabling from China to finish the subdivision, get the state of compliance. We need to be able to bond some of those things, and then within a reasonable period, finish them down the track. And obviously a house doesn't get built for generally about 8-9 months, so there's plenty of time to actually get stuff done before the residents actually move in to their subdivision.
No, that's right. We've got a couple of projects that I'll work on. We've got like a natural drainage system, like a Forsyth drain or Skeleton Creek drain running through the estate. And exactly what I'm thinking at the moment is, like, how do we get PC provided to us when this particular portion of wetlands connected to the entire stage that has 40 or 50 homes, and you don't get PC for that unless you complete all of this. So
it's a new world. It is a complete new world. So we must think about being able to just change the rules. There's just going to be new rules to get going. People have got to start providing a service. A bit like when Jeff Kennett came in the early 90s, we'd been at mid-90s, 1996, we'd been in a complete recession for a long time. Victoria, everyone was going to Queensland in droves. There was just nothing happening economically. Been no change to house price for about 6 years.
Yeah.
And then he came in and bang, just changed, put in CC, compulsive competitive tendering and a whole lot of other things, and bang, action. Just reset our expectations. And I think this is what's going to happen here. Reset their expectations. Think of new and creative ways to get things done. Perhaps trust that, those with a good reputation, like yourselves, like ourselves, be trusted to actually get that state of compliance, knowing that we will come back with us with a financial bond or an undertaking that will come back and complete those works, and just get the economy moving so we can keep people in work, keep jobs happening, keep the tradies going, and the people want to get into their houses move along.
Yeah, exactly right. I think I don't know how long it will take, and I wonder how long we will be in this particular scenario for isolation. But I don't want us as an industry, and this is where I think we can be better. Is like, let's, whilst we're at home, we have the opportunity now to work on these strategies whilst we're not inside the business physically. So
Yes.
let's actually start doing this. Let's have this conversation with like, okay, well, in 3 months' time, we need to make sure that all our construction projects are able to get PC if they're at 95% complete. And the only issue is turf, or if it's a play equipment or whatever it is. We need to be able to provide that support to developers, because at the end of the day, like, we're very lucky that we're in a construction industry that we haven't completely shut down. But we're keeping, not single-handedly, but we're keeping the economy alive at the moment. And if we were to shut down the entire construction and property development industry, I think it would have such a significant impact on the economy, more so than people actually getting sick with at their construction site, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's certainly. If I had a 1 o'clock meeting, which I'm just telling my staff by email that I'm late, so I'll be late. So just sorry for the interruption there.
No,
So
it's okay, but this is great.
well, I actually asked my CEO, how are we dealing with the councils? Are they cooperating? And he said they've actually been the best they've ever been. Our staff dealings with council, mate, they're actually staff realising that everyone's got a really big problem. We're all going to pitch in. So some councils are great and some not so great, but apparently they're all sort of shaping up at the moment and saying, how can we help? So they just realise that we're all in this together. So if we don't all help and get the economy going, it'll just spiral out of control, and we will go to, have it end up with a bit of a disaster.
So you've always been a quite forward thinker, and the first time I heard you speak at the event that I went to, well, how did you come up with a business concept to start? And like, I know you progressed your business to the point where you're looking at being more sustainable for the entire country, and obviously taking the model around the world and using it in other places. Like, tell us a bit about that, because honestly, not a lot of developers are doing what you're doing, Rory, and a lot of developers are still doing the cookie cutter. Make sure you get your profits. Make sure you do what's needed to be done to make the business profitable.
I think we're just a product of our environment. I think having that country upbringing, doing the university, small country town, dealing with smaller, country councils, I think that all contributed. This my own family, my siblings, I'm probably the only capitalist in the family. The rest of them are all very new age, environmental, sustainable minded people. So I've mixed a bit of my siblings' sustainability with my own, obviously, capitalistic tendencies to run a largest business, which I think has worked quite well. I had a brother who sadly passed away from cancer around about 18 months ago, but he was a geophysicist, done a PhD in environmental flows of the tributaries up in the centre of Australia. So he was quite a renowned scientist in that regard. So we've had some very, very environmental people in the family. So our sibling interactions was support some of those thoughts. But it all happened sort of organically. As I said, we bought this piece of land in 1989, but the group that this agent Rob Ketchup brought together was a lawyer, 2 accountants, myself as an engineer, and Rob as a real estate agent. So it wasn't like I knew about engineering, but I knew nothing about law and I knew nothing about accounting, etc. So it was a combined expertise of all these. We're all aged in our young 30s at the time, so it was our combined age. Where I was only 29 at the time. You can work at my age again. But we're all, just sub 30 or just over 30, and just that combined assistance to each other. We went and developed that and worked out our own new protocols, etc. There's some construction that back there banging on a pit at the moment, creating a bit of noise. I have to move so away from them. And then we just did that 30 lots. So we went and bought another piece of land and did another subdivision, another piece of land, another piece of land. So by about 1996, we bought about 6 different projects and set up 6 different syndicates, used different agents, and each time brought more and more people in. So in the end, by the time about 1996 came along, we combined all 6 syndicates into one company called Villawood Properties.
Wow.
And so we went from original 16 shareholders, which are still with us today, and those original directors are still with us today, to another one one guy at the time had MS, and he sadly passed about 10 years ago, but his wife still comes along as a shareholder very happily, Carol Batten. And so that just grew from there. So, and then I came to Melbourne and met more. And my partner Tony is a as you all know, is a valuer. So you're having agents, lawyers, engineers, accountants, valuers. Our combined expertise became really, really strong. So we all chipped in our own knowledge. He's just guy in the background and start banging his staff pickets.
Shovel?
He's doing.
It sounds like a shovel. He's developing his own land at the moment.
No, it's a council workers on the street because I'm outside at the moment, so in the garden. So we just developed from there, and I think, and then as time went on, we developed all during the 90s and came to Melbourne, and met more people, and grew the shareholdership, and grew the projects. And then we started doing Orchard Place in 2001, and we'd been to America on a UDA tour in 2000. Can you hear me, or is that banging just way too noisy?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you clearly. It's an extra additional sound.
I'm not sure how long they keep banging for. Perhaps we'll keep persisting. So I've been on a UDA trip, and I've been on, I think part of my knowledge, and people say you're creative, but I don't think I'm actually creative. I just see a whole lot of cool stuff, look at it, observe it, take a photo of it, and remember it. Doesn't mean I've sort of creative my own. I like creativity. It doesn't mean I am super creative. I've seen so many ideas. I've done every UDIA VPLA tour since 2000. Every 2 years, there was an overseas tour. I either did, first one was America, the second one was China. Then we went to Europe, then back to America, back to Europe, back to America, back to Europe, back to America, back to China, back to Europe. And so, it's been every 2 years doing those trips and just seeing things evolve. And you keep seeing new world ideas and bringing those back. And I can show you so many examples of things I've done where I've commercialized ideas I've seen overseas. People say, oh, geez, you're creative, done all these things, but you've actually been inspired by somewhere else. And the trick is when you see something inspiring, is actually take a photo of it, because then you remember it, or you got it in your photos. So I'm in a landscaping meeting or a council meeting, and someone's got an idea about something. It just jogs my memory about, since that trip in America 2004. So I go to my photos and pick out, it looks like this. This is how we can do it. And if you show a landscape architect a picture what's in your mind, it just helps them to replicate, rather than wave your hands in the air and say this is all these things. Your photos, a photo's worth 1,000 words. So it just really, really helps to get the detail as well. I've been on UDA trips where going these bus trips, and then they keep going. The bus hasn't stopped. I'm really interested. So because I'm in Adelaide or Brisbane or Sydney or somewhere else on the UDA conferences, I'll get a taxi and go back there again, and just to take those photos to make sure if I saw something cool, always take a photo.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I was in Italy in September, November time, visiting some family, and we were in Tuscany and various parts in the north, going in Milan, going to obviously we were in Como. And it was so interesting to see how they develop property and land over there. So different, and exactly similar to what you've done. I actually used my trip as like a study trip, because I was doing my Masters of Engineering Project Management at Monash. So I was thinking, okay, well, I'm doing stuff in global warming. My subject at the time was trying to predict what increases of 2 degrees Celsius would do to obviously the current water levels within the earth, and the radiation and stuff. And I was over there, and I was just taking photos of different landscapes, different types of buildings, different subdivisions that they do there, how they construct in very confined spaces. I was speaking to a few Italian contractors, and it was great, exactly that. So when I came back here now, I've got like a couple of folders in my desk here where I've got different methodologies on how to do things, and also how things look in different parts of the world in different environments. So it's a great way to do things, I think. It
is. And so as I was saying, I got some ideas in the first trip to America, and so 2001 we did a project in Werribee called Orchard Place, and I'd seen in Florida this fantastic project. I think it was called Centenary Park. I wanted to create an orchard effect, so I went to council and wanted to plant basically an orchard in the front park, but the council wouldn't let us put an orchard in because they wanted to pick up the fruit afterwards and maintain it. So that we put in ornamental pears. We still called it Orchard Place, and it was all farm themed, but So that was just like initial tasting into sustainability. Then we into like in a commercial level, and then we it actually failed because they wouldn't let us do it. Then we did another project called Seasons in Tarneet on Sayers Road.
I know that.
And there I met a guy called Ben DeWater from Sustainability Consultants, and he had a whole lot of ideas, which I was really interested in. So we developed our first Seasons Green Guide. Was that number one? People were 4-star housing at the time, so we were going to force 5-star housing.
Yes.
And a whole lot of other planting initiatives. The right plants to be planting and encouraging solar and a whole lot of other things from there. And we'd spent about 12 months developing it, and about a month before it launched about to actually do the official launch, the government brought in 5-star compulsory, which took out the wind out of our sails a little bit. But we still went ahead and did it all, and we won local Wyndham environmental awards for it, and finalists in an international award as well. So we're pretty happy about that. And that's inspired. Once you start doing some good things, it inspires you to do more good things and believing you can do those things. And I always believe that as part of your reputation, you've got to create. If you do the right thing and create good things, then people want to be there. So it may not stack up commercially to do some sustainable things today, but that I'll build your reputation, and eventually the rest of society will catch up anyway, and they will become, and you'll be ahead of the game all the time. The thing is to keep ahead of the curve.
Yes.
Do the innovation, believe in the innovation. Same with landscaping. I always believe for every dollar you spend on landscape, you get $2 back, because you do which we've got a good reputation for very active and very active playgrounds, and that's another story as well, talking about kids and activity. You can get into another day. Just write that down if you want as another topic for keeping kids active.
We will be doing this again for sure.
So sustainability sort of just evolved. I just got more and more interested. And then we had the drought of the 2000s, and that really got you interested in water conservation. Then we've had all the power pricing, the power spiking, and other problems with thoughts about coal, and that starts to get you more interested in electricity. And then this fantastic opportunity comes along with Southeast Water has the Southeast Treatment Plant, and Aquarivo gets involved, and I think joining with the government authority, which truly believes in not only water conservation, but actually done the technology to develop to save a whole lot of cool things.
I guess the Water Authority I think have probably got the most important role to play in speeding up that process for sustainability and the reuse of water. The Water Authorities, for me personally, that's how I feel. What about yourself? Yeah,
well, exactly. As the little talk I gave you, which you attended, and I think my battery's actually only about 5% battery at so hopefully it'll last a while. But back in the old days, was government-owned state electricity suppliers, so they both had the same good intentions as what the water boards did. But now the all that electricity has been sold at basic overseas interests. There's not too much interest in really saving us any money, and how much green they say they want to be green, but it's really all still about the bottom line. So I now think that the water board should be the green electricity supplier, getting involved in it, because they are our true sustainability interested body, state-owned body.
Yeah.
So with the interests of the people and the environment at heart. So I just believe they should get into the green energy space as well as the water space.
Yeah, correct. Because I'm about to have Lara Oslin on the podcast as well, who's the new CEO and managing director of Southeast Water. So I'd love to pick her brain on these topics, maybe get you both into a podcast meeting. So
I haven't had a chance to meet. I think the corona sort of interrupted. We were due to meet a week or so ago, but that's been a little bit interrupted now. So I'm looking forward to catching up to her, because they are our partner in this Aquarivo project. So be good to meet. So so things evolved. So it came to when we worked in Benio during the 90s. It was really just a self-help group. It was 6 years of solid recession, or even 7 years from 89 to 96. So it was a self-help group. When the engineer, the lawyer, and the accountant all worked, we're supplying engineers we're supplying income for those different businesses, and the contractor became involved. So everyone involved in the projects would basically become shareholders. So it's a self-help group. We didn't really make that much profit. It wasn't until we went to Melbourne in 1999. So the timing was just perfect, basically. We went to Melbourne, bought our first project in Cypress Rise, and that same Skeleton Creek that you were talking about, just a bit further upstream. And then our first one was a 48 lotter. And we're too scared to come to Melbourne with the Melbourne prices by ourselves. So I brought 3 other opposition syndicates down with me. So 4 syndicates got together to buy this one property for $2.8 million in Cypress Rise in Taylor's, basically Taylor's Lakes or Hillside. And then that started the whole. That was just the evolution of a whole new. That's where I met Brendan Conlon too. He was the he was
in
with the
99,
Wetlands
really,
Foreman.
back then.
The first time I met Brendan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was and then we didn't know at the time, but that was the start of the biggest almighty 2-decade property boom that Australia's ever seen. So Melbourne at the right time got very confident, and then just off we.
Did we lose him, Shannon?
Me? I'm still here. I think we've lost Rory. Yeah.
I think we've lost Rory. He'll zoom back in. It's quite brilliant, actually, and thinking about his career and how he started. He's just like a young kid, like, hey, I'm going to go traveling for until I'm 28, 29, and then, have that $10,000 and have a crack. That's something pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I know. I keep thinking, like, I've done that. I did the travel, and now I'm working, and I could just do it myself instead of trying to find a developer to do it.
Yeah, well, that's what he's basically saying. He's just like, I just bought a little block of land and I just did it.
Yeah.
And tried my best to do it.
I just Googled and found a block of land that I think the 10,000 might be substantially more.
Yeah, correct. It's just so, like, his story's so interesting because, like, for him, he's just, we'll see. We'll do this and see if it works, and I'll try it. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And he's not about, like, obviously he runs an organization, so it is about profitability, but he's also really focused on the environment. And before that cut out, he was just about to get into how he came with a partnership with Brendan Condon and Aquariva. But let's see if he tries to log back in. I reckon I've missed him. I reckon he might be struggling to get in.
Yeah.
I know. So what's the property development sector like in your area?
It's pretty strong.
There we go.
That in back.
I ran out of battery.
That's brilliant.
So I ran out to the car to get my car connections. I've got the we can plug in because new iPhones you can't have power and earphones at the same time.
Yes, I know that. It's frustrating. Yeah.
One of those little gizmos, which don't even make them, so I don't know why. So anyway, where were we?
So I think you were at your partnership with Brendan Condon, just coming into.
Yeah, so Brendan came along and never met him before and just showed me we'd never built a wetland before, didn't know how they worked. So he showed me how they worked and explained all the litter traps and the sedimentation ponds and the nutrient stripping. So I learnt all about wetlands. I couldn't believe I had to spend so much money on one, but when it was built and saw how it was all finished and what the natural setting it set on, because he did such a great job with natural setting that it gave the whole project. I became a big fan of wetlands and really using wetlands as a centerpiece of your projects. The blocks around it should be worth more money because they've got this water outlook, got the heat island effect, a bit of urban cooling.
Yes.
And if you build them properly, and we spent quite a bit of money, putting little wooden bridges and other things around them to make them, just to make so people can actually get into them and look in there and enjoy what they give.
It's part of an interaction, although it's for aesthetics. And I think I used to design quite a lot of wetlands, and it's interesting. A lot of developers or people want it to be functional in regards to obviously treatment of water and what it provides for the ecology. But it actually can be really interactive for the community and the people within that development to actually learn about Australian fauna and flora, understand the nature of the land, understand what the land was used for before. I think that sometimes you should nearly deliver, and I wish you could for a lot of developments from a financial point of view, it's tough, but you could nearly deliver your wetlands and your like open spaces like that first, and they provide such a boost to the overall aesthetics of that for that development.
You've nailed my thoughts exactly. So if you're going to have public assets which actually add to your value of your place, you should build them ASAP. Many teams, their financial people in the financial teams, we can't afford that. We can't do it until stage 6 or stage 8 or stage 10 or whatever. Rubbish. As soon as you build those things, your sales will increase, your property price will increase. So build it early. Don't care. Just find the money and build it. I think it's a really important learning in managing your project and getting to build those assets, whether it's our club facilities that we do or what everyone does, being parks and wetlands. Get it in ASAP and do a really good job, and that sets the tone for your whole project. Because when you do a good job, then it just lifts people's expectation. When they do the house, they're more confident to build a better house because it's in a good area, and they look after the house because you've done a great park, so they take more pride in their front yards. And it just follows on. Everything just follows. If you give them crap, they'll give you back crap. If you give them something great, they'll appreciate it, and makes the whole project work so much better.
Yeah, I got a question for you in regards to the I think the Sunbury project that you're doing at the moment. I saw that there was a Queen mural that you were using.
Yes, it's we've had a bit of a stall there, but because we've done our soft launch, and the big launch is supposed to be a few weeks, but now you can't open the sales office. We can't have the big party. We had about 160 builders reps there pre-virus for builders launch, so it was all looking pretty exciting.
Yes.
So the sales office itself, I think one of the developers, we bought their big sales office off them, which seemed cheap at the time. I think we bought it for $10,000, but it cost $250,000 to move it. It's just major structure, and I think it's nearly $1 million building now by the time we've actually renovated it and put all it's the most expensive sales office known to mankind. But we had this big blank wall on the outside of it, and then we hadn't, the zoning, the PSP process was being extraordinarily slow, and then so I just wanted to keep, and the staff wanted to put some sort of message on there during that process because we're waiting for the PSP to be approved. And I said, rather than just put land sales, let's put something more interesting. Like we always like to do quirky things. So I, at the time, Bohemian Rhapsody had just been launched, and there was a young graphic artist called Danielle who'd been doing some really cool work in Geelong. So we got some staff to track her down and just to like to do a Queen mural, which we planned out a little bit. So anyway, so that's about 20 metres long and probably 6 metres tall, that mural of the 4 original members of Queen, which we used from various photographs. So we haven't plagiarised any one particular picture. So we used a whole lot of pictures, montage them together. Yeah. So we didn't have to worry about copyright, etc. By just doing our own version. So it wasn't of one particular photograph or anything. And they were actually hoping to get the boys out there when they did the concert to do to go and do a selfie in front of it. But we went to Paul Danny's office a couple of times, which is just along South Bank, but we couldn't seem to get them interested to even tell the boys it was even there. So, but what was fascinating about it was the Sunbury Festival, which was back in the 70s, was on Jackson's Creek, was just over the hill from us, about 500 metres away. So Queen had been there in 1974, got booed off stage. And that was the inspiration for putting the Queen picture up there. And it's a good lesson in sort of indirect marketing as well. We put the pictures up there, and all these people around Sunbury, anybody leaving the airport, were driving past the site, going, have you seen that on Facebook? You see the traffic. Have you seen the Queen mural? They go, and people say, where is it? No, when people answer the question for you, they say, on the Villawood site. So we're actually getting marketing, and our registration sales was phenomenal by instead of having land sales there, having a picture of Queen. People took a lot of interest in it, and the viral spread of we shouldn't use the word viral anymore because the virus, but that natural spread of the word getting around just on social media was amazing, just by doing something a bit out of the ordinary.
I think it was brilliant because, like, I heard of it. I live in the southeast region of Melbourne, and it was like so everyone kept like talking about Queen Mural. I was like, what are they talking about? They sent me photos of it, and I was like, that's actually really cool marketing. That's like something that's completely ahead of the curve, and everyone is going to obviously take notice of it because it's so big. It's so big. So it was kind of cool, really cool.
So we're up to we got up to probably during the 2000 Inspiring for the sustainability side of things, and so getting up to which culminated again to with Akariva. But I think during that time, 1999, we probably had a stock of hundreds of blocks. We only ever bought a block of land for like $400,000. Was the most expensive block we bought before we came to Melbourne, and now down the track we've got about 15,000 lots. So there's been obviously a fair growth since in it, and the way I think the business has grown then too is just keep embracing people. I'm not so much a soloist. I like a party, so I'm just happy to share with everyone. So the more and more people you meet, the more people got involved, the more and more people bought your opportunities, and just sort of grew. We had a bit of help obviously with ourselves, but our own views, but just grew organically from opportunities that came along. And as I said, you couldn't have launched a business in Melbourne a better time than 1999, the start of a property, 2-decade property boom. And when Orchard Place, that was 400 lots. That particular project, we bought it was a failed, vandalised site. It was in Werribee. To the east was the cemetery. To the north was Housing Commission. To the south was industrial and the railway line. And it was just, I think it was a 400 lots site, and they'd only sold about 40 lots in 2 years. The price was way down. It was all graffitied, and signs kicked in, and anything new they put was bent over, etc. We came in, gave us some TLC, and then we signed a contract, which we've been working on for about 6 months. And within 2 weeks of signing the contract, the first-time buyer grant got announced, wow. And bang! So not only did a great job with that, after the Cypress Rise Inspiration, did a great job with our parkland, and we changed the park completely. It was an old CSIRO animal husbandry site, so it was really good topsoil there. It was an old experimental farm. So it had fantastic topsoil, and all these windrows of really nice eucalypts on it. So they were all going to be demolished in the original plan. We completely redrew the master plan to make a linear park along these natural trees, and then met Folco, who brought in our sculptures, and just created this. And when we bought the site, all the grass, everything was sort of looking half dead. And they actually had a sprinkler system in there, but all was missing was a 9-volt battery. So we just put a new battery in the sprinkler system, got it going again. And they had these Mission Brown bollards. We paint them all this new bright burnt orange colour, and put these burnt orange light poles in, and really brighten the place up with a lot of colour. And people came out there, people were actually scared because people were doing burnouts. We had to rebuild some of the roads, actually strip off the asphalt and re-asphalt them, because the skid marks from the burnouts had actually ripped the asphalt up.
Destroyed it. Wow.
And then, so from there we sold, after them selling 40 lots in 2 years, we sold 400 lots in the next 2 years. And prices went from like $48,000 a block up to about $85,000 a block over that period.
Yeah.
So it was a real fantastic.
It was good timing. It was like everything fell into place from a sequencing and planning point of view, but it was also like a touch of perfect timing and luck. Like everything just went perfectly at the correct time for yourself.
Well, it was. Well, the previous developer had Mission Brown bollards, and he had this black marble sign at the front, which looked like a mausoleum because it was next to a cemetery. So we got rid of all that and brought in brightness and colour and care and attention, and mowed the grass and planted a whole lot of things, and people just loved it. And it was just, and the new park we told council holders stuff, and they were just so impressed, and they gave us support to change the master plan. Yeah. And I think from that relationship in Wyndham, we did 3,600 lots in the next 10 years after that. It was had a wonderful relationship with the staff there, and won quite a few awards for most of our projects in Wyndham.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Rory, we're running out of time in regards to this license again, but I would love to get you on the podcast when this is all done and get you in the studio and just hear a bit more about your story and continue this journey in regards to Villawood and how you're paving the way in regards to sustainability and leading the industry. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to send you guys an email in the next couple of days and tee up a proper time. I don't know when this isolation will be all done, but you would be the most amazing person. And I've been having people text me wondering exactly when you're going to be on the podcast, because they want me to ask you questions now, but I'm running out of time.
So in our last minute, because next time probably won't be here, I'll just have a quick whiz through my veggie garden. So I've got a few lemons on in my little, I've got my garden, my kitchen with the thyme and parsley and chilies and chives and basil and Thai basil and sage, and then that's my little top garden when I can't be bothered walking down the block. But further down the block is I bought a bit of land off my next door neighbour, and so I'm a bit lucky to have half an acre here. So which is walks down to the river. So if you come down, and then I've got my big veggie patch, which the tomatoes nearly finished now, but I've had quite a big crop of tomatoes, as you can see. And then the orchard, and there's sort of pumpkin down there, and rhubarb, and apricot tree, nectarine tree, peach tree, pomegranate. There's a big fig tree in the background, which you get thousands of figs. I've got a cherry tree. So I only planted them about 4 years ago, so I'm waiting for them to all mature and get decent fruit. I think I've got about 20 cherries this year, but I'm hoping for hundreds or thousands next year, and get plenty of nectarines. So I think that's different, quite real. So I think part of my sanity is coming down to the veggie patch, and people say how do you get time? So I think it's just necessary to make time for things that de-stress you, whether it's sport, whether it's reading, whether it's being out in the veggie garden.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a beautiful setup down there. I actually just, myself and my partner, we just decided to put lots of plants in our house and outside in the backyard, because we live in obviously not a big property, but we didn't have much plants, and we're like, we actually have to be a bit more conscious of how we live our lives, and having somewhere just to go retreat and chill out. But how long have you had that set up down there? Have you been in the same house? Or?
I bought the next over his bit of land because he wanted to send his kids to university, so I bought the land to help that along. But I just stopped a townhouse being built next to me.
Yeah.
But it's certainly just the veggie garden's about 4 or 5 years old, I suppose, and the trees are 4 years old. It's I'm very fortunate, obviously, to be able to have this space.
Beautiful.
But I try and put these same examples into our projects, having the community gardens for everybody. And obviously, if you don't have space, the likes of Brendan Connor, who you've already talked to, he's got some fantastic constructions there, or products there to actually grow home gardens in confined spaces. So looking back up again on that particular topic. So thanks, Romain, for listening to me, and I hope give us some insights for particularly younger players on things to put into what they're doing. But happy to chat at any time. But I'm sure you'll find plenty of other more interesting people in between.
Rory, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. And I look forward to having you on the podcast, and having the production team and the film team put together an amazing setup for you to go through that amazing journey that you've been on. And I appreciate your time.
Cool. Thanks, Romain. Bye-bye.
Rory.